Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We are coming to you guys with a second round playoff game, number 2 versus the Clippers versus the Jazz here. We saw the Jazz pull it out by 3 in game 1. Donovan Mitchell, huge game, putrid shooting by the Clips. We'll get into all of it. As always, make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page. Jump in the comments. We'll have a gift card opportunity for you. Not this video, but another one for you tomorrow. So make sure you are liked and subscribed. If you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those listings in your area. Plenty of NBA playoff promos available. But for now, Nate, let's jump into that Clippers Jazz game 2.
Yeah, pretty similar line to game 1. The Clippers are +3 underdogs, +130 on the money line, and the total is 221.5 with pretty good odds for the over, nearly even money. That would be the first thing I look at when you talk about the Clippers having just a putrid shooting night. Sort of expected as they come off a Game 7 letdown that they would struggle a little bit. And this was a game in which the Jazz missed 21 straight shots in the first quarter, and still it went over. Just barely by 1 point. But just looking at that and the way the Jazz have played offensively over in 5 straight games since Donovan Mitchell got into these playoffs, I'm especially going to look at the first half over of just 112. I think you can expect the Jazz to play a lot better in the first half offensively than they did before. And just the home team, what we've seen lately is the home court advantage becoming a real thing. And that means the home team is able to dictate pace a lot more. The Jazz like to play with pace. The Clippers do not. Right. But Donovan Mitchell is going to be running this show, and he is aggressive. He is a playoff killer, and he has been coming at the Clippers consistently. Obviously went off for 45 points after a slow start. A couple exploitable prop bets for Mitchell is for him to hit over 3.5 threes is +120 on DraftKings, which I don't really understand why you're getting plus money there. He's averaging 4.4 triples made on 9.5 attempts over his last 12 playoff games, and he attempted 15 in game 1. So that would be the first thing I look at there, along with the Jazz to just score over 111.5 in another high scoring affair back and forth between these guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, the Clips are the second slowest and now slowest team left in the playoffs when it comes to pace right now. So to your point, it's interesting. The pace of game 1 was 93, which is about what the Clips play for the playoffs. Whereas the Jazz, they're up near the top, about 5th in pace for the playoffs. So like you said, they want to push it. Donovan Mitchell it looks like he's shot out of a cannon since he came back from injury these playoffs. But it's interesting. If you look at the way that things went, this seems like it would have been a game tailor-made for the Clippers to take advantage and win it. It was just their shooting that couldn't do it. I mean, when the Jazz have the stats that they had from Mitchell, Bogey added 18 points. Gobert had a double-double with rebounds, obviously. And Conley was dishing the ball pretty well as well. And Clarkson comes off the bench. Everything was working for the Jazz. They only won by 3. So it was a push in game 1. And when you look at how bad the Clippers were, that small ball lineup that I talked about in the last pod about this team, that obviously was the reason they won game 7 against the Mavs. When you have guys like Marcus Morris shooting 7 for 9 from 3 in that game, this game was a completely different story. Kawhi was 4 for 17 from the floor. Marcus Morris was 1 of 8 from 3, 4 of 14 from the field. Combined with Paul George and those two, that was 5 for 21 from 3. So then Reggie Jackson had foul trouble, 2 in the first quarter, and then fouled out eventually, 17 minutes and 9 points. So that's it. That's the story of how they lost. And the game was actually somewhat handed to them. As you mentioned, the Jazz missed a ton of shots in the first half, couldn't take advantage. The Jazz couldn't take advantage of the Clippers' slow start. And it does seem to be a case now of both teams seem to be in a good position for a rebound game comparatively, with the Jazz having poor shooting outside of Donovan, who actually was only 6 of 15 from 3. Would like to see him do a little better. But and then you've got, like I said, everyone on the Clippers shooting so horribly. Reggie Jackson not even getting serious minutes. I think in this game, I'm going to actually feel pretty good about 3 points from the Clippers getting that there. on the road, still feel good about it, but I'm going to continue to ride Donovan Mitchell. He and Kevin Durant, mostly Mitchell because of the blowouts that the Nets have been, dishing out in the playoffs. So his points haven't been as safe as nearly as much as Donovan's have. You can count on him to have the ball in his hands on offense, with a usage rate close to 40%, especially in their wins. That's still what he's averaging. So he has the ball in their hands and they're winning. It's going to continue to be the trend, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially if Conley is out with the hamstring issue again. It's going to be all Mitchell all the time. I still think the Clippers can win this series, even if they lose game 2. We just saw it in their last series. They can go on a roll. Tyronn Lue can make adjustments. Right now, you are getting plus 160 for them to win the series. The same kind of trend I mentioned with the Sixers. I expect them to lose game 1 and then still win the series. I don't quite feel as confident about this Clippers team for obvious reasons, but I think they kind of like that role more than being ahead. Paul George is the key here, right? He shot 4 for 17 in game 1.
True.
He's dealing with a lot of mental issues in the playoffs. The crowd is taunting him. I think maybe some sort of sports psychology where if their back's against the wall, when there was 0 level of concern after they lost 2 against the Mavs, that's when he starts to play well. I think if he can lock in and take some pressure off Kawhi, the Clippers can absolutely go on a run. They're plus 750 to win the title at this point. Let's say they go down 2-0 to the Jazz. What kind of money are you going to be getting there on them to still win the title or win the West at least? We're probably not picking against Brooklyn at this point. But I still believe that the Clippers can pull this series out. I think they match up well against the Jazz. I think Rudy Gobert is not necessarily going to thrive in this series and that the Clippers can still play him off the floor. He was a bit of a wild card pushing the issue with the officials in that first game, but he could easily have wound up on the wrong side of those calls and found himself on the bench.
Yeah.
As far as game 2, again, Mitchell points, Jazz points all around. Let's take the over.
Yeah, I'm with that. I do want to take a second to commend you on a couple of recent huge W's that you've not only gotten some pretty nice props out of that Sixers game 2, as well as what's looking like that Suns Nuggets game 2 under that you called. You seem to be in a little bit of a zone right now with the flow of the game, calling the sort of starts. And we both like the Clippers to start slow in that last game. But if you do feel good about the Clips still winning this series, you have to ask yourself, do you feel good even if they go down 2-0? And if you do, I think that is worth a bet. But, even if you do, take it now. If it goes to 2-0, you might consider still taking them, So either way, I think you can expect a much better showing from Kawhi at least tonight. He does historically have some pretty bad numbers since he's gotten to the Clippers against the Jazz. I mentioned that last time. It played out in this game, but this is a different story. I think Kawhi showed in Game 7 and Game 6 against the Mavs that this is a different year for him. This isn't the bubble year last year, and that he's going to be the Kawhi of the Raptors who puts the team on his back, though. So looking for that in Game 2 with you as well, Nate. We will be watching that with y'all. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page and jump in those comments. Let us know who you guys are betting on, and we'll be back with another show for you guys tomorrow. And until then, happy betting.